Block 36 is the branches block, and it uses two stitches, the knit stitch and the treble crochet. The first row of your block will be your base row or simple stitch row if you're attaching to a previous block. The second and third row will be knit stitch, and then the fourth row begins the treble. And let me show you how that's done. The start of row 4 is 5 knit stitches. Then you're going to skip the next stitch. You're going to go to this stitch here, and you're going to go down 3 rows below. So there's 1, 2, 3. You're going to insert into both loops of that stitch. Oops, excuse me, I forgot to yarn over. You're going to yarn over twice. Then you're going to go into the third, skip this one, 1, 2, 3. Go into this stitch through both loops, yarn over, bring up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, 3 times. And that's how you make a treble throughout. Then to proceed to the middle treble, you're going to knit stitch next to where you made your first treble, then knit stitch into the next one, and then do a treble in the same stitch that you did the first one. And when you're done with the second treble, you should have a knit stitch in between. Then you're going to repeat that process one more time. We need to knit stitch here, and then here, and then do your third treble into that same post. Whoops. Gets a little tricky going behind. Clearly, I didn't do that correctly. Oops. And the reason I ended up doing that over is what I check for after I do each of these trebles. You do your first one, and as you go further along, you'll see it lines up with the previous pattern because this is a repetitive pattern. But I want to make sure that I have a knit stitch in between. And then to proceed to your next one, we go 6 knit stitches. And you'll see as you look below, it lines me right up with the previous pattern. And we're going to repeat the process. And we're going to do this all the way across row 4 of the pattern. I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and then I'm also going to do 2 more knit stitch rows, and then I'll return. Okay, so I finished the rest of row 4, repeating the treble pattern 2 more times, and then knit stitched across the rest of the row. And then for the second half of row 4, as is the case with every single row in this block, you yarn over and draw through 2 all the way across till you're back down to 1 stitch. Then I went ahead and I did rows 5 and 6, which are just the knit stitch all the way across the row. So now we're ready to start row 7, which is the final row of the pattern. And to do that, again, I start with 5 knit stitches. And this row will be much easier than the first treble row. We're going to yarn over twice, and we're going to go down to where the first treble was done. Go in there and do a treble. Oops. Then we're going to do 2 knit stitches, which should line us up with the second treble. Go down and catch that one. Then do 2 knit stitches. And you guessed it, go into the third treble. Did I get in there? No. I just realized as I'm doing this, that's Jack sitting there laying on the bed. It's snowy and cold as all get out today. So both the pups are inside sleeping. Okay, so then it's 6 knit stitches to start the next branch pattern. And you do that all the way across the row. I accidentally stopped the camera. Okay, just a quick backup here. This is based on a Leisure Arts leaflet, and it's titled An Afghan Stitch Sampler. It's leaflet number 2501, and it's available as a PDF download on their website. I am basically doing a Tunisian sampler Afghan that will incorporate every one of the 52 different blocks that they show in this leaflet, but I am not doing them the exact same size, nor am I joining them the same way. My blocks are all the same size. They're 36 stitches in width and 29 rows in height. And so I'm having to make some adjustments block by block in order to maintain those stitches per inch and rows per block. And the pattern itself for the branches block calls for 25 stitches, and essentially 10 stitches, multiples of 10 plus 5, which would bring you to 25. Since I'm doing 36, I'm going to be doing multiples of 10 plus 6 at the end, so I'm going to have an extra stitch. But other than that, I was able to pretty much follow the pattern. And like I say, row 1 is your simple stitch row just at the very beginning. Then rows 2 and 3 are knit stitch. Then you do a treble row. Then 2 rows of knit stitch, and then a treble row, which is row 7. Then they have you repeat rows 2 through 7 the rest of the way. I've decided to repeat rows 1 through 7, and I'm making row 1 instead of a simple stitch row a knit stitch for the rest of the pattern. And the reason is by doing multiples of 7, and I'm doing it 4 times, I come up with 28 rows. That leaves me 1 row of knit stitch at the very end. And so that's how I've decided to do it. As a result, mine looks just slightly different because I have a knit stitch row separating the pattern as I go up, but that's the only difference. So this is block 36, the branches block. Thanks for watching.